The night air was cool as laughter and music filled the spacious backyard, twinkling fairy lights casting a soft glow on everyone's face. It was a grand affair, the kind my father had always dreamt of for his 60th birthday. Everyone he loved was there, friends, relatives, colleagues from his long career, and of course, Lara, my wife, the seemingly devoted daughter-in-law. "Happy birthday, old man." I clapped him on the back as he chuckled, his eyes crinkling in genuine delight. "Thank you, son. And thank Lara for this, she's outdone herself," Dad said, gesturing around at the decorated garden that had been transformed into a dance floor and dining area under the stars. Lara smiled at us from across the room, her dress clinging to her like a second skin, a stark contrast to the modest attire of the other guests. Something in the way she moved seemed rehearsed, calculated even, as if every step was meant to seduce. I pushed the thought away, blaming it on the free-flowing champagne. As the evening wore on, the crowd thinned out, the older guests retiring and the youngsters heading off to continue the party elsewhere. Finally, only a few of us remained, lounging on the scattered chairs, tipsy and tired. "I have one last gift for you, Dad," Lara announced suddenly, her voice a sultry whisper that seemed too intimate for the occasion. She grabbed his hand, pulling him towards the house. "Come, it's something special." I watched, puzzled and increasingly uneasy, as they disappeared inside. Curiosity overcame my better judgment, and I followed them, my steps slow, a sense of dread building in my stomach. Reaching the bedroom, the door ajar, I peered inside. The sight before me was something out of a nightmare. Lara was dancing in front of my father, her movements lascivious as she stripped off layers of clothing, her skin glistening under the dim bedroom light. Dad, caught between shock and an inexplicable inertia, sat frozen on the bed, his saxophone lying forgotten beside him. The music was a slow, pulsing beat that seemed to echo my escalating heartbeat. I felt a mix of anger and betrayal so intense it was palpable. "Lara!" My voice broke through the music, sharp and commanding. She stopped mid-dance, her eyes wide as she turned to me, the mask of seduction falling away to reveal a flash of panic. "Michael, it's not what it looks. Save it!" I cut her off, my voice cold and steady despite the turmoil inside. I turned to my father, who looked as betrayed as I felt. "Dad, I'm so sorry." He didn't speak, the shock rendering him mute as he looked from Lara to me, his expression one of utter bewilderment. "What the hell is this?" I demanded, my gaze fixed on Lara, who was now clumsily trying to cover herself with the discarded clothes. "It was just a dance, Michael." "A stupid mistake," she stammered, tears beginning to form in her eyes. "A mistake?" My laugh was bitter, hollow. "You call this a mistake?" The room was thick with tension, each of us caught in a silent standoff, the gravity of the betrayal sinking in. The woman I loved, the woman I had vowed to cherish, had deceived me in the most humiliating way possible, on a day meant to celebrate my father. The next steps were clear to me, as if a path had been illuminated amidst the chaos of my emotions. Revenge, a clean break, and a future where Lara was nothing but a distant, painful memory. "I want you out," I said finally, my voice void of emotion. "Out of this house, and out of my life." Lara's plea was a whisper lost in the distance as I walked out of the room, the image of her deceit seared into my memory. I was betrayed, yes, but far from defeated. This was only the beginning. The morning after my father's birthday was grim. The sun rose, indifferent to the storm that had erupted in our lives. I sat at the kitchen table, nursing a strong coffee, the silence a stark contrast to last night's revelry. The doorbell rang, a shrill sound that seemed too loud in the quiet morning. I opened it to find my sister, Anna, her eyes wide with concern. "Michael, I just heard from Dad." "Are you okay?" "What happened?" She rushed in, her voice filled with worry. I sighed, running a hand through my hair. "It's Lara. She crossed a line I can't forgive." Anna's face hardened as I recounted the events, her protective instinct kicking in. "She did what? With Dad?" That's just vile, Michael." As we talked, another car pulled up in the driveway. It was Detective Sarah Collins, an old friend from my college days who had recently moved back into town and joined the local police force. "Michael, I heard about last night. I thought I'd check in on you," Sarah said as she stepped inside, her professional demeanor in place. "Thanks, Sarah. I appreciate it," I replied, grateful for her presence. Anna looked between us, her mind piecing things together. "Wait, Michael, isn't this the perfect person to help? If Lara's capable of this, who knows what else she might be hiding?" Sarah nodded, understanding immediately. "You want to know if she's been involved in anything illegal?" "Exactly," I confirmed. "Anything that helps me get to the bottom of this." Sarah pulled out her tablet and started typing. "I can look into her financials, her communications. If she's hiding something, I'll find it." As Sarah worked, the doorbell rang again. This time, it was Tom, my best friend since childhood and a lawyer. His face was a mix of anger and sympathy as he came in. "I heard about last night, Mike. I'm here for you, whatever you need," Tom said, clapping a hand on my shoulder. "We might need legal advice, Tom." "It looks like this could get messy," I said, glancing at Sarah, who was deep in concentration. "First things first," Tom began, "you'll need to secure your assets. If this turns into a divorce, which it looks like it might, you'll want everything in order." "I want her out of my life, Tom. Completely." "We'll make sure of it," Tom assured me. He began discussing the preliminary steps for separation and what I should expect in the coming weeks. As the morning turned into afternoon, Sarah looked up from her tablet, a serious expression on her face. "I found something. Lara has been receiving regular payments from an unknown account. Large sums. It doesn't look like standard cheating. This is more serious." The room went still, the implications of her findings dawning on us. Money, deceit, betrayal, they were all pieces of a puzzle that was far from complete. "What do we do with this?" Anna asked, her voice tense. "We investigate," Sarah replied. "I'll need to get a few warrants, but we'll get to the bottom of it." The air in the room felt charged, a mix of dread and determination settling around us. Lara's betrayal might just be the tip of an iceberg, and I was ready to dive into the cold depths to uncover the truth, no matter how dark or deep it went. The atmosphere is tense, everyone's focus razor-sharp as we sit around the dining room table transformed into a makeshift command center. Sarah's laptop casts a glow, documents and photos scattered across the surface. Tom is on his phone, speaking in hushed tones, likely with his office, coordinating the legal maneuvers. Anna paces by the window, occasionally stopping to contribute a thought or ask a question. "I've got the warrants," Sarah announces, her eyes not leaving the screen. "We can access Lara's bank records and emails fully now. If she's hiding anything else, we'll find it." Tom hangs up his phone and looks over. "I've set up a meeting with your bank manager tomorrow, Mike. We'll make sure she can't access any of your joint accounts or assets." "Good," I nod, feeling a semblance of control returning. Suddenly, Sarah's phone rings. She answers, listens for a moment, and then her expression shifts to one of urgency. "Okay, we'll be there," she says before hanging up. Turning to us, she explains, "That was my contact at the local bank. They've noticed some irregularities in Lara's accounts that match the suspicious payments we're looking into. They've asked us to come over." We waste no time. Sarah and I head to the bank while Tom agrees to stay back and monitor any legal developments. Anna decides to go check on Dad, ensuring he's coping and out of Lara's reach. At the bank, the manager, a middle-aged woman named Mrs. Peterson, greets us with a stern look. "Detective Collins, Mr. Thompson," she begins, leading us into her office. "We've observed multiple high-value transactions made to accounts overseas. These aren't typical client behavior, especially considering the account history." Sarah takes the lead, her demeanor all business. "Can we see the transaction records? Dates, amounts, and any recipient information you have." Mrs. Peterson nods, tapping at her computer before turning the screen towards us. Rows of figures, dates, and cryptic references fill the screen. Sarah's eyes flick over the data, sharp and calculating. This one here, she points to a particularly large transaction made recently. Where was this sent? Offshore account in the Cayman Islands, Mrs. Peterson replies. We flagged it because there was no prior notification or justification provided, as per policy for amounts this large. I feel a chill. Lara never mentioned any investments overseas, nor do we need such a setup. Sarah jots down some notes, then looks up. We'll need full cooperation from your team to track down the end recipients and any communications related to these transactions. Of course, Detective. We want to help clear up any potential wrongdoing, Mrs. Peterson assures us. As we leave the bank, Sarah looks at me, a determined glint in her eye. We're just getting started, Mike. There's more to this, and I have a hunch your wife might be involved in something that goes way beyond infidelity. The drive back is quiet, each of us lost in thought. I can't help but feel a mix of fear and anger. How could I have been so blind? And yet, there's a part of me that's relieved to finally be taking action, to no longer be the passive victim in this unfolding drama. Back at the house, Tom greets us with a folder in hand. I've started the proceedings for an emergency injunction based on the initial findings. It'll prevent Lara from making any further transactions without court approval. Thanks, Tom, I reply, the weight of the day settling on my shoulders. Let's hope it's enough to start putting things right. The pieces of the puzzle are slowly coming together, each one revealing a picture far more complex and sinister than any of us had anticipated. As night falls, I know one thing for certain: the fight to reclaim my life has only just begun, and I won't back down until the full truth is uncovered. The final pieces fall into place on a cold, clear morning. The makeshift command center is silent, anticipation hanging thick in the air. Sarah, Tom, Anna, and I are all present, each one of us tense, knowing today could very well be the day everything is revealed. Sarah breaks the silence, her voice steady. The offshore accounts linked to Lara have been traced back to a shell corporation, which in turn links to a known money laundering ring. My heart sinks, the gravity of her words sinking in. So, she was involved in criminal activities? It looks like it, Sarah confirms, handing me a folder filled with documents and photos. And she wasn't acting alone. Her partner in this was none other than. She flips a photo onto the table, and my world stops. It's Daniel, my childhood friend who disappeared from our lives 2 years ago under mysterious circumstances. Daniel? I gasp, disbelief coloring my tone. Yes, Sarah nods. It appears he and Lara were not only having an affair but were also business partners in this scheme. The betrayal cuts deeper, knowing it involves not just my wife but also one of my closest friends. The room spins slightly, and I grip the table for support. Tom's voice brings me back. We have enough to go to the police now, to get them both arrested. Yes, I agree, my voice hollow. Do it. As Tom makes the call, Anna comes over and squeezes my shoulder, her presence a silent support. The police act quickly, and within hours, Lara and Daniel are in custody. I refuse to see her, not wanting to face the woman who destroyed our life together. Days pass, and the reality of the deceit settles around us like a thick fog. The divorce proceedings are expedited given the circumstances, and Lara's criminal activities make headlines. It's a scandal that rocks our small community, but I'm left cold, my emotions burned out. The day of the final hearing arrives. I sit in the courtroom, a shell of my former self. Lara is brought in, handcuffs linking her to a grim future. Our eyes meet briefly, and I see the remorse in hers, but it's too late for regrets. The judge doesn't hesitate. Given the severity of the crimes committed, I hereby sentence you to 5 years in federal prison. Lara's gasp fills the room, but I feel nothing. She is taken away, and with her goes the last remnants of a life I once cherished. Outside the courthouse, the cold air is a balm to my heated emotions. Sarah and Tom stand by me, their support unwavering throughout this ordeal. You did the right thing, Mike, Sarah assures me. It's over now. It'll never be over, I reply softly, the scar's too deep to ever fully heal. But at least now I can start to move on. Anna joins us, her arm looping through mine. Let's go home, Mike. Let's go back to where real family and true friends wait. As we walk away from the courthouse, the sun breaks through the clouds, a sliver of light in the darkness. I look back once, at the building that sealed my past away, and then turn my face towards the sun, ready to face whatever comes next, free from the lies and the betrayal.